by running through a quick little lighting crash course. So me and Russ spent the morning just doing some pictures and creating some lighting setups so that we could kind of show our audience what basic lighting looks like. So this is really helpful for anybody, if you're a DIY creator, entrepreneur, anything like that. I think you're going to find this interesting. So I'm going to try to keep this under 5 minutes. It's really quick. There's not a whole lot of content, but it is really basic stuff that is fundamental for a good lighting setup. You're going to learn basic techniques, terms, and equipment. So like I said, this is going to be definitely for like DIY entrepreneurs, whether you're like a real estate agent, you're a business owner, or you're just somebody who's just starting your business and looking to create content, or if you're doing it for clients as well. So today we're going to run through some lighting equipment and the basic setup that we're going to do for this type of shoot. We're going to describe and talk to you about what three-point lighting setup is, and then after that, we're going to just talk a little bit about what's to come in some future episodes. So. Section 1, we're going to go over, and this seems a little intimidating, but there's only 2 sections. I promise it's not long. So we're going to talk about equipment and setup. So we're going to go over the basic lighting equipment, placement, strengths, all those different types of things. So in this demo, Russ and I used 4 different types of main equipment. First was a panel light. So that's basically just some LED lights put on a panel. They can either be handheld or a little bit bigger. A monolight, which they're a little bit better than the panel lights, depending on what you're looking to use, because they do have a more secure rail system. So you can put things like diffusers, softboxes, et cetera, on it more universally. And then, like I said, softboxes there. That kind of just helps to soften the light going across your subject. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, and a reflector too. So we'll get into how you use these things in a second. But first, I want to talk about what each piece of equipment is doing what. So there's 3 main lights that we're going to be talking about today. It is the key light, the fill light, and the backlight. And so for our setup, we used a monolight with a softbox at 100% strength for the key light. For the fill, we used a monolight with a grid and barn doors at about 50%. And then in this situation, if it's like a tight scene or if you don't have a third light, you could always use a reflector to reflect that key light into the fill. So I'll explain a little bit more kind of what that means when we get there. And then also a backlight too. So that'll help you kind of pull out the background of your subject. We used a panel light at 20% for that. So this is the second section. So it's basically going to tell you exactly how we lit this, and it's going to show you examples of what each light looks like on the face versus other lights. So this is pretty much what the setup looked like. We had some extra lights too. We lit both sides, but this is the best basic lighting setup you can get with 3 lights. Like I said, you get your fill, your key, and your backlight. So we'll talk about what each of those are now. So we got our beautiful model Russ here, and
passport
he
photo.
was wiping the crust out of his eyes. It was nice and early, 7 a.m. this morning when he decided to help me with this. So shout out to Russ. So this picture is just the key light. So the key light is going to be your main light in your scene. It's going to be the brightest light in your scene. So you can have 3 positions that you could put this in. This one is coming from the side. So when the key light's coming from the side, it's going to split the light on the face. So if you look on the left side of Russ's face, it's going to be darker, and on the right side of his face, it's going to be lighter because the light is coming from the right side of his face. You could also put it in front of the face, which kind of flattens the subject a little bit more, evenly lighting the entire subject. And you could also put it from above, which would spread the light out from top to bottom. So these are all just used for different looks. None of them are right or wrong. It's all creative taste. So as you can see, this is a photo without the key light, and this is with the key light.
That one on the left is great. The nightmare fuel.
Yeah, literally.
Halloween trailer.
So you could just use the key light. Like you could stop there and it looks okay, but we could do better. So we're gonna go on to the fill light. So the fill light you can see from before and after. Look on the right picture, you can see on the left side of his face, it's very dark. And then now it's bright a little bit more. So the fill light just kind of fills in those shadows, and it helps sculpt the face a little bit more. Again, this is all creative preference, but the fill light is really where you're going to get that creative touch from, at least lighting your subject. So again, a little bit less of a distinctive difference, but if you see on the left side, that's just the key light, so without the fill light. Left side of his face, a lot of shadows. On the right side, nice and evenly lit. And then now we're going to move into the rim light. So the rim light is basically going to create depth from the subject and pull them out from the background a little bit. So you could either use, for this instance, a backlight. You could either use a rim light or hair light, depending on the situation. But we used a rim light, so we're going to just talk about that today. So as you can see, the rim light without, and then the rim light with the rim light. So you can see on his cheeks, it kind of defines his facial structure and his jawline a little bit more there. So that pretty much wraps up the 3-point lighting system. So as you can see, we go from the left side, which is without any lighting, all just natural lighting from the windows, and then to full lighting with the background lit, lights on, and we got a smiling Russ. So that pretty much covers everything. That's A to Z of how to light a quick crash course setup. So you learned about the key light, fill light, backlight, hair light, and the rim light. So if you can understand those basic concepts, you'll be able to light your setting really, really well. So thank you, everybody.
I just brought a YouTube video.
YouTube video, man.
Freaking A, dude. All right.
So then these are just some other things we can talk about in the future. There's so many other avenues to talk about with lighting, but there's just a million of things to do. So if you guys are watching this as a clip on social media, make sure you check out the Namra podcast. We're live every Monday at 7 p.m. New episode every week, baby. Woo! So, all right, that is my monologue. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Very well done, dude. That was awesome. I didn't know that was coming.
No, me neither. I'm like,
That was perfect.